The NFL Draft is my Super Bowl. Fans of bad teams know that. John Boccio is one of them with the Jets, another with the Bears. John, I'm so excited to break down everything draft with you today on this No Pulp, starting off with the quarterbacks, Fernando Mendoza and everybody else on the board.
Absolutely, and then we'll be getting into some draft busts, probably guys that the Jets will end up taking, or maybe the Bears too.
They will make them into draft busts, John
That's probably
Boccio.
also
We also
correct.
have the first round of the Juicer Tournament, the fourth installment. I've never won it, and I'm not in it this year, so I have no dog in the fight. Find out who wins that and plenty more. It's an hour-long draft special No Pulp here on CitrusTV.
Lane Kiffin is the same old scumbag who takes off for the next best thing again.
I have a man crush, and it's Caleb Wilson, Max. I love this guy.
Solano's in trouble, hit as he throws, hangs it up towards the end zone, and it's intercepted! Virginia has done it!
You can never doubt UConn. You can never doubt Gino Auriemma at the end of the day.
I feel like you could have blocked a 6'4" linebacker coming at you while you
Call or no, Holloman looks the clock, half court for the win!
When you got the best player in the country, you can really do anything.
Nobody expected DJ Lagway to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country because last year he wasn't good either.
First time, how are we feeling, Jake?
I'm excited to win the juicer.
A century of utility is forgotten. The Indiana Hoosiers are the kings of college football.
I cannot wait to feel the tingle down my spine on NFL draft season when those chimes play, John.
Nothing
I've been
like it.
looking forward to this
Nothing like
all year long, and I know you as a Jets fan are looking at some of the different players as we go along through here on No Pulp. Do want to give a disclaimer. As everybody knows, John, nobody knows what happens in the NFL draft. No one can predict it.
We can just predict, but we have no idea what's going to go on.
Absolutely not. One of the easiest things to predict, though, has to be the quarterback situation. John, this is not a good quarterback class. Self-admitted, this is not a good quarterback class by some of the quarterbacks in this draft. Fernando Mendoza is the only one that has really stuck out from this class so far in terms of top-end talent. As of this point, he's obviously the clear-cut number one.
Yeah, without a doubt in my mind. I mean, everybody kind of knows it, especially after his performance in the college football playoff. The guy is unlike anyone else in this draft class, but it still doesn't make him all that good, to be completely honest.
I think the other players in this draft drag him down, right? When you look at the quarterback class and people think, okay, this is a bad class all around him, that brings him down and devalues what he is. If you compare him to quarterbacks of the past, I like him with some of the prototypical size and arm strength compared to some of the other guys that we've seen in previous years. I'd take him potentially over Cam Ward last year. That's what you have to compare it to.
Yeah, I mean, comparatively, I don't think that's a bad one. I'd probably still say Cam Ward had the upside, but Fernando Mendoza in the rushing game is a whole lot better, and obviously, we know he's a proven winner. He had an undefeated season with Indiana this year, and ultimately, Fernando Mendoza has just been so superb all season long.
Transformed into a Heisman-winning quarterback, over 3,500 yards passing, 41 total touchdowns, never threw an interception in the red zone. That is something that NFL teams look at, especially touchdown to interception ratio in the red zone. Not to mention, Johnny, 6'5", 250 pounds. That is solid size. That's not a quarterback you have to look at as getting injured a lot, especially if the Raiders take him behind a bad O-line. One of the things, though, that has kind of made this a little bit interesting, some reporters in ways are arguing that, hey, maybe Ty Simpson is making a little bit of noise and sneaking up the boards. Now, certainly he won't go number one, but the questions are there. Where will Ty Simpson end up maybe in the first round, John?
Yeah, I mean, if he does end up a first-round pick, that's probably a catastrophe for whatever team ends up taking him. I mean, Ty Simpson crumbled in the month of November, and when it really mattered against Indiana in that Rose Bowl, he threw for 60 yards and then got injured? Yeah. I'm not buying it personally. I mean, obviously Ty Simpson has a decent arm, but his field feel isn't necessarily great. He's got a decent deep ball, but nothing overly special. He had 6 games this season with 200 or less passing yards. That's pretty much all I needed to see from Ty Simpson this year. He's got big game ability, but at the same time, he's a big game dropper in certain scenarios as well.
I was really worried about his ball placement down the stretch. That's what really got to me. Overshooting receivers on the sideline. Again, Ty Simpson, the numbers were good. He was in the Heisman conversation early on, especially playing in a tougher SEC. You like that. Very few interceptions. You just worry if these skills are necessarily translatable at this point. To me, John, it feels like he needs another year.
Yeah, I would fully agree with that. I mean, Ty Simpson, when he's taken the helm, has looked really good at certain times and really bad in others, and that's been undeniable. So do you trust a guy like that to step into an NFL offense, especially as a first-round pick? That is where it starts to get really, really dicey.
And when you think about some of the teams that need quarterbacks in this draft, none of them, in my mind, will transform Ty Simpson into the quarterback needed. When you take a look at some of the other quarterbacks as well down the board, you think about Fernando Mendoza, a strong drop-off to Ty Simpson, and then you go into the Mariana Trench and you get every other quarterback in this draft. It is a rough draft, John.
Yeah, absolutely. But a part of this draft that isn't so rush, all the skill position players that we're going to be seeing in this upcoming draft day. You've got Jeremiah Love, who's the one on everybody's top of mind. I mean, the guy is an absolute stud at over 1,300 rushing yards this past season on less than 200 carries. I mean, Hudson, this guy is an absolute stud.
No, he is. Something that makes him so special is home run speed. I think sometimes that gets overlooked when you look at some of the running backs that have come in the past in the first round. A lot of it is contact balance and agility with your Bijan Robinson, your Ashton Genty, right? Your Saquon Barkley. This is a different kind of running back that will go towards the top of the draft because he's one cut and he's gone. The vision is special from Jeremiah Love. By the way, he played over the second best running back in the draft in Jadarian Price and made him look like a wash. This is a running back that is special enough to take within the top 3 picks, and the Arizona Cardinals, John, are considering it at this point.
And I don't see why you necessarily wouldn't in this case. I mean, Jeremiah Love is a guy that can step into an NFL offense and be effective immediately. I mean, he reminds me a little bit of Ashton Genty in terms of the size and speed that he brings to the table, but Jeremiah Love, obviously a bit of a different mold as a running back, but another NFL-ready guy. So that's why I think Jeremiah Love could step into an offense and be a huge difference maker.
Home run hitting speed is something that a couple teams at the top of the draft lack. You look at the Arizona Cardinals, they do not have that. The Tennessee Titans need an option out of the backfield. Jeremiah Love could go earlier than usual in a draft that really needs it.
But at the same time, I'm always a little bit skeptical about taking a running back so high in the draft. I mean, we've seen how it panned out for certain players. Like Saquon Barkley was obviously great at the end of the day, but then you dip into the Christian McCaffrey's, who's phenomenal. It's situational, but he's a phenomenal running back that it just struggles to get it done because at the end of the day, running backs aren't all too useful. But when you look past the running backs and into the wide receiver rooms of the world, that's where this draft begins to get really interesting, Hudson. You've got so many different guys on the top of mind. Your Jordan Tysons, your Mekhi Lemons, Kenyon Sadiq, who's a tight end that could step into a wide receiver role. But again, the one that's going to be at the top of everyone's minds here is Carnell Tate. Might be the highest taken of all of these wide receivers. And
possibly.
And he's got hands like no other. Didn't drop a single pass this past season. That's why a lot of people prefer him on their draft boards.
It really is pick your poison with these 3 wide receivers. Do you want a bona fide wide receiver 2 in Carnell Tate that maybe doesn't have the potential to be your X receiver, but will be a solid Z throughout his entire career? Great hands, as you mentioned. Do you want a Mekhi Lemon, who's more of a slot weapon? Maybe he can play at the X. He's a little slower, but he's very physical and aggressive at the catch point. Or do you want Jordan Tyson, who is probably your best X receiver in this draft, superstar receiver, except he had the same back surgery as Steve Kerr and knees made out of glass. And by the way, the New York Giants are looking at Jordan Tyson with the 5th overall pick. Could you imagine his knees screaming on the MetLife turf? That'd be awful.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great, especially seeing what just happened with Malik Neighbors this past season. But if you've watched Jordan Tyson clips recently, you'd see that it doesn't really seem like much of an issue right now. Jordan Tyson's been jumping out of the field like he has all season long. Yes, he missed a month of this past college football season, but Tyson is one of the twitchiest receivers that I have seen on a college football field here. The guy is an absolute monster and has athleticism like no other.
That's true. There is one player, though, that I take over all 3 of those in terms of his ability to catch the ball and turn your offense into something it is not. I love Kenyon Sadiq, tight end from Oregon. He's only 6'2", kind of undersized for the tight end spot. But John, the one thing that translates at the NFL level, separation, separation, separation. That is what Kenyon Sadiq provides you. His route tree is expansive as a tight end. I almost said wide receiver, and you don't blame me.
He's close to it.
Because of how close exactly he is to it. I love the way Kenyon Sadiq plays, especially in a quick strike offense like Oregon.
He is physical. He is a tight end that can body off defenders like no other. He's a great deep threat as well. ESPN's compared him to George Kittle in the past, and that takes a lot to draw that comparison. So Kenyon Sadiq Sadiq, not only can he stretch the field a little bit, he's good in the blocking game as well. He brings a lot of versatility to the tight end position that not a lot of tight ends bring in this class.
He's perfect for a block and release, anything to get him out into the flat and running. Want to know why? You see there, 4.39 40-yard dash. That's the fastest ever run by a tight end, and it really was not even close. Kenyon Sadiq on underneaths and screens and drags, just anything to get him open. It almost provides kind of that wide receiver-esque look to your offense with the tight end. I love the way that Kenyon Sadiq plays. I think a team like the Tampa Bay Bucks could replace him with Cade Otton early. You never know what could happen towards the top of that draft. Maybe even the Chiefs high up the board.
I was going to say, this is a guy that not only has top 15 flexibility, he could maybe sneak his way into the top 10, and the Chiefs at 9 seem like a pretty solid landing spot. But Kenyon Sadiq, obviously great. There's a lot of other skill position players that are on the board, though. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Kenyon Sadiq proposes a great skill position player for anyone.
Oh, what I will say, too, is the fact that a lot of these guys are being devalued due to positional value in order to put some higher guys in terms of positional value up top. Specifically, the edge rusher class. There are 3 big edge rushers to look for in this class. And just like the trio of wide receivers, all 3 of these guys provide significantly different things, John, when you look at Arvell Reese, David Bailey, and Ruben Bay.
Yeah, I mean, the one that sticks out to me the most is David Bailey, because that guy has speed like none other in this draft class. I mean, he has the quickest first step maybe in this entire class on defense. He can get to the quarterback in seconds. He's also incredible in the rushing game. That's really where he calls his name. And then Arvell Reese, he's an outside linebacker that can do it on the inside as well. His versatility is nearly unmatched in this class. And then Ruben Bain, one of the big fallers here in 2026, but still, Ruben Bain proposes an incredible threat on the edge.
No, it's true. One of the things that I love about Ruben Bain, despite the arm length, people worry, 31-inch arms, that is short. It does matter in the trenches when you stick your arm out. Who makes contact first will control what happens in the trenches. So that's why Ruben Bain falls. But when you look at the other intangibles, he is the strongest player in this draft in terms of play strength. Arvell Reese is right up there with him. His big question mark is he an edge rusher? Because he played so much inside linebacker. He played at the second level so much. We don't really know what the case is with Arvell Reese. Can he develop? And then I saw David Bailey with my own 2 eyes when Oregon beat Texas Tech badly. I've never seen a player look like David Bailey in terms of his get off at the point of attack. He moves so quick, creates so much separation between him and the tackle. That speed, John, just kills.
It does kill, absolutely. And David Bailey not just did it in the regular season, but he did it when it mattered most, like you said, in that Oregon game and in the Big 12 championship, combined for 10 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. I mean, the guy is all over the place at all times. There's nuts.
There's a chance, too, with Arvell Reese. He would be one of 3 potential players to go in the top 10 from Ohio State alone, only on the defensive side of the ball. There's a chance the Buckeyes have 4 players in the first round alone. 2 of the other players, Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. Sonny Styles has my heart. This guy blew the combine out of the water, ran and jumped out the gym. He was fantastic. The tape aligns with it. This is a former safety converted to linebacker because of the fact that he's 6'3", 245 pounds. So yeah, why not move into linebacker? And then he shows it by having a 43.5-inch vertical. That is NBA level. And running a 4.46 40, John.
Yeah, Sonny Styles is one of the biggest risers of this draft class, and for good reason. You mentioned it. A safety converted to a linebacker is always a scary combination to face on the other side, because Styles not only can do it in the open field, but he's become so good at rushing the passer and staying back in zone coverage as well. He really is a versatile guy that was used so well in that Ohio State offense. And I mean, if you're an NFL team, you're eating all of his draft stock up.
One of my favorite Twitter accounts, Math Bomb. Kent Lee Plant gives you relative athletic scores out of 10. A perfect 10 is the best of all time. Sonny Styles for linebackers scored a perfect 10, the highest relative athletic score of all time. Keep an eye on him in the top 10. John, we have a lot more to get to, including the first round of the Juicer tournament, the 4th ever tournament. We've got a big-time matchup, the 3 seed, Ben Chadwick, and the 6 seed, Rahil Jaswell, when we return. No Pulp continues after this. It's April Madness on No Pulp, a bracket of 8 contestants for our 4th Juicer tournament. Ben Chadwick to my left, Rahil Jaswal to my right, the 3 seed and the 6 seed, ready to break down some NFL draft takes. Guys, how you feeling?
Oh, I can't wait.
I've been better.
You've been better, really?
I'm on a box right now, which is...
That is true. 2 taller guys over here. Maybe a bit of Napoleonic complex to get you going here, Rahil, in the early rounds. Alrighty, Ben, I'm going to start with you as the higher seed here, all right?
Yep.
College that will have the most NFL players drafted.
It's Indiana. I mean, this is a weird one. You look at the NFL mock draft database, which combines the biggest big boards in the entire country and puts them all into one. It's over 150 big boards. They predict that Indiana will have 11 players in the top 250. That's the most of any college. I don't know what I really need to else argue there. I mean, look, there's not only depth with the Hoosiers as well. They got some of the top picks. Of course, number 1 overall, Fernando Mendoza will be the number 1 pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. How about wideout Omar Cooper? Will be later on in the first round as well. Corner D'Angelo Pons, as well as wide receiver Sage Surratt. Elijah Surratt, I should say, will also go later on day 2 as well. But really, I mean, this NFL mock draft database predicted that Ohio State would have 15 players selected last year, which would have been the most of the entire country for all the schools. Ohio State had 4 teams picked in the entire country, so, and that was also leading the entire country as well. So I think that it's a case where you just kind of look at this, you see that Indiana has the most players on this big board, and you think, yeah, that kind of tells a story. Okay. What do I know that they wouldn't?
Rahil, your counterpoint.
Yeah, Indiana is obviously the safe pick here, but I'm going to go with the national champion runner-up, and that is Miami. It's all about the U, and mainly because if you look at the history of what Miami has done, I mean, they have unbelievable amount of first-round draft picks just historically. Not to mention, Ben, I know you talked about Indiana being a very deep team. So is Miami in particular. If you look at the way Miami ran their team this year, it was very NFL-centric. Hard-nosed run game, a lot of good plays like that. That's going to really translate well into the NFL. I know Indiana won the national championship, but I think Miami's guys are going to be ready to go out of the gates and make an instant impact. So that's why I think the Hurricanes are actually going to have more players taken than Indiana. You talked about the Hoosiers are in projections, but again, this is all projections. We don't know. I think Miami will actually have more players picked in that part.
Interesting. I think you guys probably picked the best 2 schools that you possibly could have for this. A lot of older guys that are NFL draft ready. By just a hair, I believe it's going to be Indiana just because of the depth, although I do think the Miami players profile better to the NFL. I think they'll have better talent. Ben, you get the first point there. So that question's for 1 point. The second question is for 2 points. Ben, we'll start with you again.
Sure.
The player who will get picked too high in this draft.
Yeah, you guys mentioned it before. I think it's going to be Keldrick Falk, the edge out of Auburn. I truly, truly do. Look, he is a fantastic run-defending edge. Don't get me wrong. But he doesn't do much on the pass rush side of things. And if you're going to the NFL as a prospect, that's what you're looking for, man. I mean, he had 2 sacks the entirety of last season. He played all 12 games, and he had 2 sacks as an SEC edge rusher who was predicted to go in the first round. That is not what you want. Look, I get it. He's big, 6'6", 285 pounds. He would be a fantastic move to the interior defensive line in the NFL. He would be a run-stuffing interior guy. But am I taking a run-stuffing interior guy in the top 20, even the top 50? No, Keldrick Falk should be a maybe mid to even late day 2 pick in my eyes. He doesn't rush the passer. You need that.
That's disgusting, right?
All right,
well, Hudson, I want you to hold on to your horses here because I'm going with Jeremiah Love.
Oh.
Listen, I understand people are feeding over, and I agree. I think he's one of the better players, maybe the best player in this draft, and in my opinion, maybe should have won the Heisman, but I just don't believe in taking a running back in the top 5. Top 10, top 15, you could have me, but also you look at the teams in this draft, the Cardinals and the Titans, they need offensive line help badly. That's where they're going to go. That's where the smart pick would be. If they want to go Jeremiah Love, why not trade back into it? And I know he's been compared to guys like Bijan Robinson. To me, he more strikes me as a Jahmyr Gibbs going in that 12 to 15 range. And oh, by the way, Bijan Robinson had a better season at Texas to be taken higher. He also had 18 touchdowns, had over 1,600 rushing yards. I like Jeremiah Love just maybe 8 to 12 range, but I think going top 4, top 5 would be a bit of a reach for
I don't want to hear another word on this question from both of you guys. I think both of you guys are wrong, so it's just who I disagree with less.
and I disagree with Rahil less right here. I think Jeremiah Love maybe getting mocked 3 is a little bit too high. Maybe he should be in that 5 to 7 range. I think Keldrick Falk, a guy that will go at maybe the end of the first round, beginning of the second round. I don't think that's too high for a guy that sets the edge in the run game really well. So I'm going to give 2 points to Rahil.
Rahil, just so you know, he still disagreed with you.
It doesn't matter.
I disagreed with both of you here.
I got the points, though.
Those were both gross. Alrighty. We go to Rahil now, a 3-point question, and then ultimately the winner of this, who will move on to the semifinals. Rahil, your question is, late round pick that will be the steal of the draft.
Yeah, I really like Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama, the wide receiver. Hudson, can I get a roll tide, please?
Roll tide.
Roll tide. I think this guy has a really great chance to do something special in the NFL. And don't take it from me. Take it from Steve Smith Sr., who came out and said, this kid has got maybe the best route running in all the NFL draft. And oh, by the way, how versatile he is. Had just under 900 receiving yards at Bama with 7 touchdowns. You could line up in the slot, out wide, in the backfield as well. He kind of strikes me more like a Deebo Samuel-esque, maybe with even better route running. I think this kid can really do something special. He's physical when he has the ball in his hands. He's extremely hard to stop. And oh, by the way, he had some pretty good performances against top 10 teams. Caught 6 balls against Georgia. Was the only player on the field that showed up for that game against Indiana. He had 4 catches for 60 yards. So I really like him. I think he could be a real steal for teams picking later in the draft, just because he's getting so overshadowed by some of these other wide receivers.
You kept saying, oh, by the way there. Oh, by the way, a second-round pick is not a late-round draft steal. I hate to break it to you. The 6'1" Bama wideout that put up over 800 yards last year and 7 touchdowns.
Okay, Ben, your pick, though.
Jake Slaughter, the center out of Florida. He is fantastic and is the best center in the entire draft. Jake Slaughter has been fantastic for Florida in his entire career with the Gators. A very balanced center. Now, look, is he going to be the Tyler Linderbaum type center that should go top 15, top 20 in his NFL draft? No, he's not that type of talent. But he's a guy projected to go late in the 4th round, maybe even the 5th round right now. And I think he's going to be a steal in the 2nd or 3rd if someone snags him there. He's such a balanced player. You know, he was top 5 in the run blocking grade in each of his last 3 seasons, according to PFF. Top 10 in pass block grade in each of the past 2 seasons. He's balanced. He's a big body. He's got the positional size to play in the NFL as well. Jake Slaughter is absolutely going to be a steal when he is selected on day 3, which I believe is a late round pick when he's selected on day 3.
I do agree. It does slant more towards late round pick. Jeremy Bernard is maybe a 40 to 50 range guy. Jake Slaughter is a 5th round pick. And at the end of the day, my heart lives in the trenches. Jake Slaughter, consistent guy, wears glasses. I think that's kind of cute for a center. And a very deep center class. Rahil, I'm sorry, by the skin of your teeth, you are gone. You put up a great fight. Ben had the key to my heart there. Let's take a look at the Juicer standings after the first game of round 1 there on this bracket. For this side, Ben Chadwick taking down Rahil, moving to the 2nd round. The winner of Jish Sokolsky and Jake Klein, which we will have in just a matter of moments for you. We'll take them on in the Juicer semifinals. Alrighty, we'll step aside real quick on No Pulp. Back after this.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
everybody, welcome back into No Pulp. He's Hudson Ridley. I'm John Boccio. We're going to dive into something that might get a little frisky here,
just
but
a bit.
We're throwing on the lab coats, and we are talking draft bust with draft diagnostics. Hudson, you ready?
I'm very ready. I've always been bad at science. I've always been good at the draft, John.
Yeah, you know what? Chemistry maybe isn't your thing, but when it comes to round one of the NFL draft, then that is where it gets even better. So, Hudson, we'll start with you. Who is going to be your first bust of the draft?
Well, that just revealed it right there. David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. And I know keen listeners may have just thought, Hudson, I thought you said that was one of the best players you've ever seen with your own two eyes.
They did actually.
Yes, it is one of the best players I've ever seen with my own two eyes. Here is the issue for David Bailey. Pass rush plan matters so much in the NFL. He is a speed-first guy, sometimes has a swim move, but speed ages poorly. That is a tell-all NFL draft knowledge point. If you have a guy that is speed only and maybe doesn't have that power flexibility consistently, yeah, sometimes that's going to die off as he gets older, and then all of a sudden you spent the third or even second overall pick potentially in this draft on a guy that maybe has not developed the way you want. Is David Bailey a top 15 player in this draft? I would certainly say so. But if he's taken at 2 and you get maybe the 13th best player in this draft based on how it pans out over the next couple of years, I think that is just a little bit too rich for me in this case. If you take a look here, average NFL career lasts around 3 to 3.5 seasons. I bet David Bailey plays longer than that, probably at least 7 years, right, in that case. But after the age 28 season since 2018, players 30 and older league-wide have totaled just 150 sacks total since 2018. There are guys that have strength profiles that project a lot better to continue that. If you're just a speed rusher and you can't really set the edge too well on the run, that's when you start to get into some of these issues, John.
And Hudson, I tend to agree with you in that there's a player that's going to get taken a little bit too high, except mine's not going to be on the defensive side. Mine's on the offensive end, and that's because I think Carnell Tate could be a bust in this draft. But let's take it into the microscope to tell you why. It's because he is not a playmaker. Carnell Tate is great. He's a good deep ball guy. He can sit down and catch well. He's got great hands, right? All of these intangibles are phenomenal. But when you look at Carnell Tate on tape, name me one time that he has caught the ball and made a play with it. It really doesn't happen. Carnell Tate is great at the catch point. He is great at reeling all these balls in, but when it comes to him having to do it on his own, that is not his specialty, and it hasn't been his specialty all season long. He can beat people off the jump. His route running is superb, but when it comes to being the guy, the wide receiver one that you might take in the top 5 maybe, probably the top 10 will be where he ends up going, that is way too high for a guy that's going to be your Z receiver, a slot guy at best. He is not someone you're going to line up on the outside. He is not going to be someone you trust to cross into the middle of the field and make a play. Carnell Tate is a guy that should get drafted maybe at 15th, the highest. He's very, very good. But is he a wide receiver one that should get taken as high as 6? Oh no,
I think
not
you undervalue
chance.
how good a really good wide receiver 2 can be.
Yeah, absolutely. A wide receiver 2 can be great. A wide receiver 2 isn't a guy that you take in the top 6, top 7 picks of the NFL draft. You are looking for home run hitters at that high in the draft, and that is not Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate is not a playmaker. He can't do it on his own. He is just a deep ball or a sit-down guy.
If you had a chance to take T. Higgins with a top 6 pick in this draft, would you do it?
No, absolutely not. Look at all the other talent there is on the board. T. Higgins would be a top 7 pick in this draft?
That's
blasphemous.
I would argue he would. I would argue it. Carnell Tate is kind of a safe play and a known commodity. I'll disagree with you on that, but I understand where your logic is. I kind of hate on this edge rusher class a little bit more than most, John. So for my next pick, I'm digging back into the well of an edge rusher class that we all thought was going to be great. And as the tape comes out, you watch more All-22, start to realize maybe these guys aren't as great as we thought. The prime example for me for that, when you look at the numbers, Cassius Howell of Texas A&M looks fantastic. But when you watch him on tape, there is one major flaw. John, I am not that much smaller than Cassius Howell. He is too small to be a consistent rusher at the NFL level. We have seen small edge rushers. Recently, Bryce Huff just retired. He's on the smaller side. Maybe the Niners at the back end of the first could look to replace him with that same profile in Cassius Howell, right? He is the fastest guy I have seen off the edge. But John, what did I just tell you moments ago?
It's too small.
Speed ages poorly, and he's too small. You combine those two together, when your only pass rush plan is just beating the guy to the outside, that doesn't often translate in the NFL, at least not more than a couple of seasons. The fact that Cassius Howell is getting a lot of hype at 6 feet, 6'2", around 220 pounds. Obviously, they're going to project him higher, 240, 250, whatever they want to say. Yeah, sure, 250. That's a lie. Cassius Howell is not 250 pounds. I would be willing to bet a lot on that, John.
But even if he is below 250 pounds, yeah, he's a smaller guy, but still, speed will kill for a couple of years, which is why I think saying that Cassius Howell is bust-bound is kind of a lot.
I think the problem is, though, when you look at these draft picks, they're investments, right? And when guys are on the smaller side, you don't necessarily want to invest in a smaller, lighter, speed rush guy.
I don't see why not, though, because you could build him up easily. You're an NFL team.
He has to go to a win-now team. That is the only way he'll make an impact.
Well, a guy that's also pretty small that I've got on my bust list, that's Eli Stowers of Vanderbilt. And, well, he's a tight end and the Mackey Award winner that a lot of people are saying shouldn't be a tight end. And that is all that I have to say, which is why we're going into the microscope. He is just not physical enough to play tight end in the NFL. Size does matter at that position, that's for sure. And while Eli Stowers is great in the passing game, he is going to get abused in the blocking game if that's where they want to use him in the NFL. Stowers came in with such low measurements, the 41st percentile for height, the 12th percentile for weight in amongst tight ends. I mean, that is about all that you have to say. His blocking ability is so poor. His red zone completion rate is so poor.
Yeah.
He lined up in the slot all too much. It is absurd to think that this guy could be a first or second round pick in some people's mock drafts. Eli Stowers at best should be a third and then get converted to a receiver immediately.
John, you know what my biggest issue with this is? Think about the best tight end Syracuse has had in a long time.
Oronde Gadsden.
What is Oronde Gadsden?
Yeah, but the thing is, Oronde
a big slot who doesn't really block that well,
yeah,
and
but
they
the thing
put
is,
in the
Oronde
slot.
Gadsden is a whole lot bigger than Eli Stowers is. He's 6'5", Stowers is 6'2".
This is true, but Stowers does get separation. I think that's the biggest thing with him. My issue with this, too, is the fact that when do you think Stowers will go in the draft?
I mean, my guess would probably be a high second to low second.
Oh, my goodness, no. Eli Stowers is going in the 4th round or later.
But
based on that.
This is the thing. People are loving him on these draft boards recently.
I don't think he'll go that high. The other reason why he's not too physical and he doesn't block, John, that's a former quarterback right there, and Eli Stowers. That's
yeah, it really shows, to be honest with you. I mean, come on. Well, that's enough for our draft diagnostics. Coming up on No Pulp, we've got another juicer for you, the other side of the quarterfinal brackets. Jay Klein, Jish Sokolsky, going at it.
They took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Hey everybody, welcome back into No Pulp. Jish Sikulski, Jake Klein with you, about to battle it out in the juicer. We're ready to go. He's the 2, he's the 7 seed in our juicer tournament, and we're going to get straight into things, guys. Now look, this draft class is pretty loaded. We all know it, and the quarterbacks are not all so great, which is why I want to ask, who's the best non-quarterback player in this upcoming draft class? Jake, we'll go to you first.
Well, I want to start by saying that the best non-quarterback player in this draft is the best player in this draft, because Fernando Mendoza is a positional need, not necessarily the best player. I feel the same way about Caleb Downs. I believe Caleb Downs is the best player in this NFL draft. He is a home run hitter at safety out of Ohio State. And look, he may not be the first Ohio State defensive player picked in this draft. He may not be the second Ohio State defensive player picked in this draft. But it's all about positional need. And there's not a ton of positional value that's placed on the safety position. That's why some of his teammates at linebacker, edge rusher may go before him. But this guy can do it all. He can play in the box. He can cover the slot. He's a great tackler. He can rush the passer, as you see right there. All-around player. He is a complete game wrecker. I understand that safety is not the most valued position in the NFL draft, but that doesn't mean that Caleb Downs is not the best, most talented player in this draft.
Jish, what do you think?
Well, you mentioned his teammates, and you mentioned maybe an edge rusher, linebacker. John, have you ever heard of a guy named Micah Parsons? There is somebody in this draft who has Micah Parsons' skill set, but is quicker, younger, and longer. Yes, it is. It's Arvell Reese. It's Caleb Downs' teammate, and he's going to go second overall.
Because it's a positional need, not because he's the best player.
It's a positional need, and because he is the best player in this draft. He ran a 4.46 40-yard dash. That's the 97th percentile. The Big Ten linebacker of the year, 10 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, played 240 snaps off the ball and over 300 on the line of scrimmage. It's a disservice to call him just an edge rusher because you can put him anywhere on the field. Most of his production pass rushing was through the A-gap when he was lined up under center as a 6'4", 240-pound linebacker. This guy is explosive, has sideline-to-sideline speed, and when he gets his arms on you, he just doesn't miss. He will bring it to the turf. This is somebody who's going to be a game changer, a Pro Bowler, maybe even in year 2 on any defense that drafts him.
You just pulled up a mock draft and saw the guy who was number 2 behind Fernando Mendoza.
Well, I pulled up the tape, Jake. That'll happen a lot of the times. And look, where Caleb Downs comes in as one of the best players in this draft, I kind of tend to agree because, once again, positional value is what dropped Kyle Hamilton just a couple years ago.
Great
and look
player.
where he's at now. Arvell Reese, phenomenal, but can he even play one position? Who knows? First point to Jake Klein on this one. But, Jish, plenty of time left. All right, let's not get that head down just yet.
I'm ready.
We'll go to the most pro-ready player in the draft, and Jish, for that, we'll go right back to you.
Sure. So this guy, I'm going to the trenches, right? We've started in the trenches. We're going to stay in the trenches. My guy is Penn State guard Olavaye Vega Ione. Say that 10 times fast. This guy is 6'4", 320 pounds. That's like if Jake Klein ate 2 Jake Kleins. So if you want a player that is that big, you absolutely can get it in this draft. And it's not just about the size. It's about how well he holds up in pass protection. 0 sacks allowed, 0 pressures allowed, over 613 snaps. This is a guy who's a mauler in the run game too. Put him in any gap scheme. He's going to push a dude downhill. And once he gets you in his vice grip, you do not win at all. That's why he didn't allow a single sack at all this year. This is a guy who dropped his weight, played a lot more fluid. A lot of the argument against him is that he might not have the fluidity. But this is a guy who has NFL size, NFL technique, doesn't get fooled by eye candy. He is pro ready. I can name 20 teams right now that could start Ione Vega, is what they call him, Vega Ione, day 1.
Jake, that felt disrespectful.
That was certainly disrespectful, but I give you credit for going there. Look, John, I know you just dunked on him for about 5 straight minutes, but Carnell Tate, the Ohio State wide receiver, is the most pro-ready player in this draft. I know, John, you don't think he is a playmaker, but he does everything else right, as you pointed out. That makes him the most pro-ready player in this draft. Just because you're not the best or most gifted playmaker doesn't mean you're not the most pro-ready. He is an elite route runner, just like you said. He has good hands, fantastic body control, and most importantly, he has played in a system at Ohio State that mirrors almost every NFL offense, and that can't be said about most of the other wide receivers in this draft. He's already played years in an NFL-like system. He's got all the tools except, apparently, according to John Boccio, playmaking. That doesn't mean he's not pro-ready.
Why don't you ask the Arizona Cardinals how a slow Ohio State wide receiver
How about
is
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Yeah,
Worked out fine for them.
There's a lot of room to improve for Cardinal Tate. I also think there is for Ivoni as well. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, pro-ready is different than being a bust. And while I think he may be taken too high, Cardinal Tate is pro-ready. I would still say Jish gets the point, however, because I know this one is super, super close. But Tate's phenomenal. I think Ivoni is as well. But we'll keep going here. Next point to Jish. We'll go player who should have stayed another year, and we'll go back to Jake for this one.
It's Colin Wright. You know Colin Wright.
Yeah. Colin Wright.
Sure.
Yeah, where'd he go to school?
Stanford.
That's right, Stanford. And you've never heard of him before I brought him up on this program. Colin Wright is just, simply put, not a very good football player. He had a pretty good redshirt sophomore season in 2024 for Stanford, where he came up with 4 fluky interceptions, ran it back this past year, had 1 interception, 4 pass breakups, less than 30 tackles. Why would this guy with another year of eligibility remaining enter the NFL draft? He's simply an average defensive back on a bad team. He's not going to be drafted. He's ranked outside the top 350 prospects. He will battle for special teams playing time in the NFL at best as an undrafted free agent. I have no idea why you wouldn't go back to school, let alone Stanford get the degree.
Why would you go back to Stanford if your goal is to get drafted? This is the worst
He's
program.
not going to get drafted.
Exactly. So going back to school doesn't do anything. Well, then why is he in the draft if he doesn't want to get drafted?
That's what I'm saying.
Jish, let's hear yours.
I'd rather go back to a school that was the national runner-up 2 years ago, and he was a backup on his team. He is in the NFL draft right now. That's Jadarian Price. He's the running back for Notre Dame. He hadn't eclipsed 1,000 yards at all in his career, but this is a guy with plenty of talent. He's still the RB2. You're leaving money on the table by entering right now. Why not take a year to be the bell cow in Notre Dame, where you're guaranteed a spot in the college football playoff? We saw what Jeremiah Love just did. 1,400 yards, a Heisman hopeful. Jadarian Price was just as efficient behind him. Why not take the extra year to get all the reps in the national spotlight? You could be the #1 running back, not a committee back. I'll tell you what, these NFL teams are not looking to draft committee backs. They want to see what you can do as a bell cow. If Jadarian Price goes back to Notre Dame, he becomes the #1 option by default. He gets a lot more money. He should have gone back to school, been the bell cow for that final year. That would have improved his draft stock, where he would be a for sure first rounder next year.
You've heard of Jadarian Price before this. You had never heard of Colin Wright.
Well,
that's just the matter.
2 points there. Haven't heard of Colin Wright, and
so
I definitely have
the
heard
draft?
of Jadarian Price. The other point with that is that Jadarian Price already showed that he's a phenomenal running back, and he's going to get drafted. Leaving money on the table is not necessary. Yeah, all right, a committee back that showed out in that offense. Everyone knows what he's capable of. The winner, Jake Klein on this side.
That's
Jake,
the plump face of a champion.
It is a 7-2 upset for Jake Klein over Jish Sokolsky. Well, that's all for the Juicer. We'll tell you the Juicer rankings here, and this bracket might get really interesting. Jake goes against Ben Chadwick, our winner from just a couple seconds ago. And they'll play the winner of Dan Shalom and Drew Albaugh. That one's going to be interesting. Well, that's all we've got here for the Juicer. When we come back, we've got a whole lot more No Pulp for you. Top 5 sleepers all around. You won't want to miss it here on No Pulp.
Welcome to my house. Lately, not my happy place. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The parents were not themselves. My little brothers were morphing into small creatures. The walls were closing in. Clearly, a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. And there's a lot of that going around right now. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It might not get you out of the house, but it could help you find a little more breathing room.
I still have fat Jake Klein on my mind. That's John Boccio. I'm Hudson Ridley. John, what went through your mind? You said that was incredible.
Look, he had to get the point after showing me fat Jake Klein.
That's
Come
true.
on now.
That is true. Vegas 192 is the right answer there. Interesting the way this juicer sets up the semifinals will be next week. You can find that on our YouTube on CitrusTV. For now, we still have plenty more draft to talk about. We really haven't broken down what we think of this top 5 so far, John. There are a lot of different options outside the number 1 pick. Where do you think the board falls through these first 5 players here?
I think it's going to be really interesting how this ends up going down. I mean, I don't know, Hudson, you've definitely seen it. All of these mock drafts are showing different variations of kind of the same top 5, so we'll show it to you here. My top 5 goes as follows. Fernando Mendoza, the obvious one. Then I've got David Bailey to the Jets at 2, Arvell Reese at 3 to the Cardinals, Jeremiah Love at 4 to the Titans, and finally, Francis Mauigoa as your 5th overall pick. And let me tell you why here, Hudson. Obviously, we all know about Mendoza. Don't have to spend too much time with him. Yeah. The Jets canceled their workout with David Bailey and their interview, and guess what? That's the most Jets thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
That's true.
Canceling a workout in an interview with the guy that you probably are going to take is hilarious, and that's why I think they'll snag him up at number 2 and maybe end up trading up within this top 5 to grab another one of these prospects. That David Bailey pick is going to throw everyone off, which is why the Cardinals see Arvell Reese falling to 3. You have no option but to take him at that point. And then lastly, Jeremiah Love, he's basically locked into the Titans at 4 at this point. His stock has fallen, has risen so high. Everybody's got the Titans taking Love. And then finally, Mauigoa is just phenomenal. I mean, the guy's an absolute stud. He is a lineman upon all linemen.
Yes.
You can't beat a Hawaiian tackle at the end of the day. That's why he is going to be so very good. The Giants are going to love him in New York.
American Samoan Francis Mauigoa. I like the way he plays, which is why, John, he is also in my top 5. Take a look at what I have. It's very similar to yours in a lot of ways. Fernando Mendoza starts off number 1, but then I have Arvell Reese going at number 2.
Probably the smart pick.
I think the Jets think that they can turn him into something. Why? Because they're the Jets. They don't know anything.
They turn everyone into
Francis
something.
Mauigoa I have moving up to 3. The reason being is because the Cardinals, yes, they have a cornerstone in Paris Johnson on one side, but I do really think they could use a left tackle, move Johnson to right, and hey, if Mauigoa doesn't work, he's got the body to kick inside to guard. I like him. He's a very intriguing prospect. I also have Jeremiah Love to the Titans. It makes too much sense. Tony Pollard, who cares? That doesn't scare anybody. Cam Ward really needs some weapons. And then Sonny Styles, I think, is a perfect fit for the New York Giants. That's a guy where you can say, okay, let's get a lot of boundary corners, a lot of guys that'll play deep zone, cut in on routes. Let's leave the middle of the field wide open. Put Sonny Styles as our Mike. Let him roam wherever he wants, covering sideline to sideline. There is a lot that Sonny Styles can do for the New York Giants. I think he fits perfectly, and I think John Harbaugh right now, having that number 5 pick and number 10, where he could potentially maybe pick up Caleb Downs or someone else on the defense, I think John Harbaugh is salivating right now if the board falls this way.
I was going to say there's a reason that he traded up to number 10 away from Dexter Lawrence, and it's probably because they might want 2 of those Ohio State guys in Styles, and if they can snag Downs at 10, then that would be pretty nuts.
Yeah, but John, nobody is sleeping, too, on these guys, by the way. These top 5 players, everybody knows who they are. Your guys, though, that may be a little bit further down the board, who do you have your eye on? Maybe a day 2, late day 1 kind of guy?
Now, look, the first one may sound a little bit nuts, but I think Haynes King is a guy that a lot of people aren't looking at, that they probably should. Look, walk off camera all you want, but this guy right here has something that a lot of people don't, and that is Lamar Jackson-esque versatility. I know that is nuts. He has nowhere near the same athleticism because Lamar Jackson is a one-of-a-kind, but Haynes King can tear up a defense like no other guy. Then Kyle Lewis out of Pitt. They call him the Shark because he can sneak through your defense in a matter of moments. He is an absolute stud for the Panthers. And then Zachariah Branch, probably the most based sleeper of the 3. I mean, kind of calm. He's a boomer bust guy, but he's got speed, out the wazoo. I mean, this guy can blow by anybody. Incredible deep ball threat. Hands, not the greatest. Kind of a George Pickens-esque guy out of Georgia where, I mean, the same school kind of builds the same prospects. But I think these three guys are, I mean, you've probably got an undrafted, a fourth rounder at the best, and then around a third-round pick here. So those are my three sleepers for the NFL
Interesting.
draft.
Zachariah Branch, by the way, just arrested in Georgia. So very interesting to see how that plays out and how that affects his draft stock. Although if you read what happened, it seems like maybe he was not in the wrong. Anyway, John, I like Kyle Lewis, especially your Haynes King take disgusts me. Let's take a look at some of my sleepers because I have guys that are very different from yours. First of all, Sam Roush, a tight end who is super under the radar right now out of Stanford. Everybody's focusing at the top of the table with these tight ends. Sam Roush is the most complete tight end in this draft. He has the height that Kenyon Sadiq does not have. He has the jump ball ability that Max Clare does not have. He has everything that Eli Stowers does not have.
I
like Sam Roush. Okay, so here is why. I believe Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker from Texas Tech, is a sleeper because technically he is not seen anywhere near the top 40 picks, and I guarantee you he is a top 40 talent. That is why I have him so far down the board, because Jacob Rodriguez...
He's going to be a second rounder.
No, exactly, and I think he is a first-round talent. He just won't get taken, A, because of positional value, but B, there's a stigma that has surrounded Jacob Rodriguez of the fact that, okay, we think maybe this guy is a little rigid, he's a little slow, he doesn't move too well. The measurables completely changed people's minds on that. Agility drills. I really like Jacob Rodriguez.
He should have been a Heisman this year.
I agree.
That's a sleeper.
I agree, and he's not a first-round pick, and this is why he's a sleeper in my opinion. Then the ultimate sleeper, a guy I guarantee you have never heard of, Caleb Proctor from Southeast Louisiana. He's a little bit of a smaller defensive tackle. He'd be kind of your 3-4 defensive end. Maybe you can play him at the 5 tech, but likely the 3 tech. Yes, he's a little bit smaller, 6'2", only around 280 pounds, but he has pure play strength, can knife through an offensive line. I love the way he picks up guys, moves them, gets into the backfield. Will it translate? That is my biggest question with Caleb Proctor. Can it translate when he plays against real offensive lines? I think at the Senior Bowl and in other competitions, he showed that he does have enough play strength.
Yeah, I mean, Proctor's obviously, if it translates well. I'm still in absolute disbelief on Jacob Rodriguez. I guess like Caleb Downs is a sleeper too because he's only going to get taken.
Well, you had
8.
Eli Stowers as a bust. He's not even going to be a first 2-round pick. You can't be a bust if you're taking a flyer.
You are not taking a flyer on Eli Stowers. The guy had over 100 yards multiple times this season.
John Boccio has no idea what he's talking about.
He has no idea what a sleeper is.
And as a result, I need to get out of here. We've got the final block of No Pulp, so I can finally get away with this guy who disgusts me. We have our top plays from our best players coming up right after this on No Pulp.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry.
Dad?
I'm afraid I don't know that.
Just 1 minute, okay? Hey, why don't we go find out?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
John Boccio and I kissed and made up over the break. I'm so glad we did. I'm no longer disgusted with him, John. I hope you didn't take that to heart.
No, it's all right. It was definitely like something that I really wanted. So
okay,
it's all right.
Good. I'm glad that happened. Anyway, John, it's time to take a look at 3 of the players that we're the most excited for. We've given you our top 5 in terms of who we think we're going to go, but that's not necessarily who we think are the best players. John, when I take a look at my 3 best players that I look forward to watching,
watching, it's a pretty easy selection for me. Sonny Styles, I mentioned why. Height, weight, speed, freak. Middle linebacker, prodigy. I think he takes away so much of the field. I love him. Jeremiah Love, we've continued to talk about his big play threat. One cut and he's gone running back. But the guy we haven't talked nearly enough about, Dylan Thieneman, safety out of Oregon. Why? He's got a little bit of a milk check to him when he's in coverage. But the biggest thing that I love about him, he is a hard-hitting linebacker slash safety, very instinctual, can play multiple parts of the field. I love him. Now, when we look at these three players, who's the most exciting to watch? Obviously, it's Jeremiah Love. John, I want you to watch this year. 2 years ago, Notre Dame went to USC to play for the Jeweled Shillelagh. Jeremiah Love wasn't really on many people's watch list until this point. Dumps off in the flat. What does he do? Whoop! Hurdles in a way that I have rarely seen before. Completely cleared his defender. No part of his defender touches Jeremiah Love. That is what became his patented hurdle move that he continued to use game after game throughout the rest of that season. And then throughout this season, we saw it up until the college football playoffs. I love Jeremiah Love. Fantastic player. You'll see a lot of that in the NFL.
These three guys are for sure going to be fun to watch in the pros. But my three guys, a little bit different. First off, Jordan Tyson. I mean, this guy is twitchy as can be. Reminds me a lot of Garrett Wilson, and we'll show you why in a minute. Little teaser. Caden Proctor. I know this one isn't going to be one that a lot of people are going to expect. I love my big boys. And Caden Proctor is going to be a guy that is throwing linemen to the ground on the third one. And then last but not least, Casey Concepcion. This guy can jump out of the gym. He's got all the intangibles that you would want out of a wide receiver, and that's why he is going to be real fun to watch when it comes to the NFL. But Jordan Tyson is the one that I'm by far the most excited to see, and that's because of plays like these. Tyson is going to come down the right sideline, and oh my Lord, Levitt tosses that thing up, and Tyson brings it down. A one-handed snag over two different defenders. He has bunnies like no one else in this NFL draft class. And I mean, just look at this. In double coverage, it doesn't get much better than that. Jordan Tyson has the legwork like anyone else, and he can jump oh so high. That's the Garrett Wilson-esque catching ability and the speed that you love to see out of NFL prospects.
Well, John, I've been warning everybody so far throughout the show, so let me do it again. I've been doing prospect evaluations since I was 14. The draft is my Super Bowl, and as a result, I've fallen in love with a lot of prospects. In that time, I've learned two things. First is it's a crapshoot. No one actually knows. And second, team fit is over half the equation. I'll give you some examples. Just last year, the world thought Ashton Genty would have an incredible team fit, and he showed us that he was miserable behind an offensive line that killed his season. How about Amon-Ra St. Brown? The Lions picked him up in the 4th round after Kadarius Toney, Rashad Bateman, D. Eskridge, 10 other receivers. Why? He ran a 4.5 40-yard dash, and he was short. Well, that made him perfect for Ben Johnson's system in Detroit that requires a strong slot. Team fit made that work. Or a hypothetical, if Justin Fields goes to the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan's offense, maybe he'd be a top 5 quarterback. Instead, he goes to my Bears, and they ruin him. The point is, in 5 years, many of these takes you heard here today may sound stupid, but when the Jets ruin Arvell Reese, just remember, team fit is over half the equation.
Well, Hudson, mine's not as much about team fit, mine's about a certain player. We've all heard the sob stories of the NFL draft, and I hate to add another one to your plate, but I have to tell you about Max Iheanacho. The former Arizona State tackle was born and raised in Nigeria. Then his father scraped up all the money possible to bring his family over to the U.S. when he was 13. They landed in Compton, where he picked up basketball as his primary sport, played it at his high school and on the AAU circuit. Then in his senior year, Iheanacho had to find his next home for hoops. But his AAU coach had a different recommendation for him. How about football? So in 2021, Iheanacho played just a single down in high school. That was enough to land him a spot at East Los Angeles College, JUCO ball. There, he took massive strides, and 2 years later, found himself at Arizona State. Iheanacho's game didn't just improve, he flourished into one of the best linemen in the country. And after posting the second best 40 time in the draft combine this year, he's a projected first-round pick. So when a team takes a flyer on Iheanacho, you're not just drafting a prospect with loads of potential, you're drafting a guy who only started playing football 5 years ago.
Well, John, I absolutely love that story. That is fantastic. Plus, he's a good player.
Absolutely. I mean, just an awesome guy. Another awesome guy is Hudson Ridley, who has his last show here at Citrus TV. Hudson, you have had a phenomenal career here, and we could do nothing else but thank you for all of this incredible work. I mean, look at all of this. This is all for you.
Yeah.
No Pulp over there. Shows like On the Bench here on Citrus TV. Hudson's done it all.
Man, I'm really honored to do this, and especially to close it out on a draft show. You know, one of my favorite things to do. I'm honored to have done this for Citrus TV. I put so much in, love producing On the Bench, but one of my favorite things that I got to do was mentor some of the underclassmen and, you know, get people to really follow a path. And I'm so proud that you followed in that path a little bit, and so many other people, and that really gives me the greatest joy that I've had. So I'm really glad. This is a lot of fun to look at as well, some of the different memories. Back when I used to have hair.
Yeah,
John remembers that. I used to have hair.
Clean shave.
Very different for me. Kind of buzzed it off a little bit. Well, John, it's been a pleasure to do this. Congratulations on your first No Pulp. We hope you enjoyed this show. The NFL Draft on Thursday. Tune into that.